Godzilla is now in New York City.
Monster 01 and 02, commence the attack.
Listeners, and welcome back to Stomp This Way. Andrew, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm all right.
All right. Well, this week we're taking a trip down under for a film called what, Andrew?
Razorback.
Razorback. Yeah. So, what did you know about this movie coming in?
Nothing at all.
Not much at all. Yeah.
Didn't even know it existed.
Yeah. Well, because when I made the schedule, I always check to see now if there are books that these movies are based off of. So I did discover that this was in fact based off a book. So I had tracked down, and it's been several weeks now, but I did read the book by Peter Brennan, and we will compare and contrast as we go along. But how many Australian monster movies have we watched? Can't think of that many.
No.
Can't really think of any off the top of my head. But yeah. You ready for some production trivia?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is based on a novel, as I said, by a guy named Peter Brennan. Now, Peter Brennan, kind of interesting. He was really a TV producer who dabbled in writing. His probably his biggest contribution to society was he was a co-creator, I believe, on a little show called Judge Judy that we all know and love. Love Judge Judy. But yeah, he did write a handful of books, and I believe this was his second novel. And I will just go ahead and say at the top, after reading the novel, I was concerned about having picked this movie for the podcast because that novel is not really about a giant razorback. That is a subplot, a pretty minor subplot in the grand scheme of things. The main thrust of the novel is really about a diamond smuggling plot. And then, the Winters get caught up in it and blah, blah, blah. And we can talk more about that as we go along. But the movie does, to its credit, completely excise the diamond smuggling plot and does streamline somewhat. But we'll get into all that. The movie was primarily shot in Broken Hill, New South Wales. The director of photography is the guy who did Mad Max 2. So a professional.
Yeah.
It has been speculated that the story is in part inspired by the Azana Chamberlain case that you've probably heard about, seen on TV, where a dingo snatched an infant, and then they tried the mother for murder. That was a big deal back in the day. They've made some TV 2020s about it or whatever. Now, I will say this movie, the book might have taken some inspiration from that for a subplot, even though the book really, like I said, is not about the Razorback thing. The movie, I will say, it may have taken some inspiration from that, but the movie was made because Jaws was a big hit 9 years prior. No Jaws, no Razorback movie. But anyway, the boar was an animatronic. They created 6 different designs for the boar for various different scenes. This is one of the first films shot with a new fast film stock developed by Kodak, allowing for higher resolution shots. Although I told Andrew as we were sitting there, this movie is in desperate need of a restoration. But I guess nobody cares enough about it to do it. I mean, come on, Arrow Video or Criterion, somebody. I picked this up and do a 2K restoration, right? Did you know that they considered Jeff Bridges for the role of Carl? But the producer, McElroy, didn't think that Bridges had enough international appeal.
And the people they picked did?
Maybe at the time, but I'm sure looking back on it, they regret not picking Jeff Bridges. This definitely would have an Arrow Video restoration if it starred Jeff Bridges. This was nominated for several awards by the by various Australian film organizations, including wins for Best Cinematography and Best Editing at the Australian Film Institute Awards, and a win for Cinematographer of the Year at the Australian Cinematographers Society. So, there you go.
Wow.
I guess that Mad Max 2 guy paid off.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about it. But
Yeah.
anyway, Andrew, what happened at the box office?
Well, it was released April 19th, 1984.
Right.
Budget of 5.5 million in Australian dollars.
Right.
I don't know what that is.
Well, I looked it up today. It's about 70 cents to $1. I have no idea what it was in the 80s, but
it grossed 801,000 Australian dollars in the box office.
mm-hmm.
And then 150,000 American dollars
Yeah.
in its limited US run.
Yeah, so it had a 800
It did not make its money back.
No, it was a flop. It was a mega flop. They actually put decent money into it. I mean, for a creature feature in the 80s, and both at its own domestic box office and at the U.S. North American box office, it flopped hard. But hey, they can't all be winners, right? But anyway, let's listen to a trailer. Then we'll come back. We'll talk about the cast and crew. We'll talk about the plot summary, and we'll talk all about Razorback. See you in a bit.
Somewhere in the Australian outback, he's waiting.
Something big scared him away.
Like what?
I don't know. But it was huge. It was as big as a rhino.
Jake Cullen, the obsessed hunter, determined to stop
Got
it.
to come to the waterhole to drink.
Jack, get some help. Andy will
No, he's mine.
You're a Pathfinders.
Animal campaigner? And dumped at the Pet Pack Cannery 8 miles west of here.
The American animal campaigner who got more than the story she bargained for.
Don't rub her up.
She wasn't very popular around here.
What'd you do to my wife, Benny?
And the crazed brothers who protected their own secrets at all costs.
You ask too many bloody questions, you know that?
Do you know what happened to her?
Razorbacks.
Carl Winters searching for the answers.
Godless vermin. He's only got 2 states of being. Dangerous or dead.
That boar destroyed his life.
Now, listen, Bill, you're in the middle of bugger all here, so for Christ's sake, don't go walkabout. We'll never find you. Now, we'll be back in 5 or 6 hours.
Gregory Harrison in his first major motion picture, running for his life.
If you're gonna do it, just bloody do it.
Hello?
Come on, man, shoot me! You finished the kangaroo off! Shoot me!
Produced by Hal McElroy from Australia's hottest new director, Russell Mulcahy. Razorback.
He's only got 2 states of being.
Dangerous or dead. Razorback.
All right. There you go, listeners. I guess there is a Blu-ray edition of this out. Maybe the Blu-ray disc had a bit higher quality. I don't know. But anyway, Cast and Crew. This was directed by Russell Mulcahy. I don't know. Written by Everett DeRoche. Effects by Bob McCarran. Music by Eva Davies. And starring Gregory Harrison, Archie Whitley, Bill Kerr, Chris Haywood, David Argue, and Judy Morris. And the plot. more or less, is as follows. After his wife, Beth Winters, disappears in the Australian outback, New Yorker Carl Winters travels to Australia in search of answers. His investigation leads him to Jake Cullen, a seasoned hunter whose grandson was killed by a giant boar 2 years earlier. Jake believes the same monstrous creature is responsible for Beth's death. Jake directs Carl toward the Baker brothers, Benny and Dicko, whom he suspects were involved in Beth's disappearance. Using a false identity, Carl joins the brothers on a kangaroo hunt, but they abandon him in the desert. The next day, Carl is pursued by wild boars until he finds refuge with Sarah, a young local woman and friend of Jake's. After Carl describes being saved when a massive boar frightened off the smaller pigs, Sarah contacts Jake. Jake tracks the giant boar and manages to tag it with a tracking dart, though he fails to kill it. While waiting for another chance, he is confronted by the Baker brothers, who fear he will expose their role in Beth's death. You see, they had forced her off the road before the boar attacked her. Dicko brutally breaks Jake's legs, leaving him helpless, and the following morning, the Razorback kills him. When Sarah and Carl discover Jake's remains, Sarah rallies the local townspeople to hunt the beast. However, the hunt is derailed when her tracking equipment locks onto the wrong boar, causing the search party to give up. Carl, meanwhile, uncovers evidence linking the Bakers to Jake's murder and sets out for revenge. He kills Benny by sending him down a mine shaft, then confronts Dicko at the local pet food processing plant. Before Carl can finish him, the giant boar arrives and kills Dicko itself. Sarah tracks the Razorback to the plant, where she joins Carl for a final showdown. After a desperate chase through the factory, Carl ultimately destroys the monstrous boar by luring it into the massive industrial fan blades. With the nightmare finally over, Carl and Sarah embrace as the credits roll. More or less?
Yeah.
More or less. Yeah, so the movie starts out with this opening scene set 2 years prior to the rest of the movie where Jake Cullen is babysitting his grandson, and he's putting his grandson to bed, and then this giant boar just like tears through his house.
Yeah.
And goes through his grandson's room and kills his grandson. And then over the opening credit sequence, we're treated to his trial, where, you know, it seems like the trial is not going his way, but we'll learn that he was acquitted because they didn't have enough evidence to say he, in fact, killed his grandson.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, from the start, a bit different. There is a similar scene in the novel where, much later in the novel, there's a flashback where Jake is like 20 years prior, and his son, while his wife is away, is killed by a boar. And, you know, his wife blames him for it and leaves him. And now he's been on a quest, you know, to hunt the boar. But in the book, Jake Cullen is primarily a kangaroo hunter. And everybody thinks he is a crackpot, like in this movie, because he talks about this giant boar. But it's not the same boar, because obviously boars don't live 20 years. It was just a similar giant boar of the same hybrid breed that shows up later. But no, then we're introduced to, after the credit sequence, the Winters. Beth and Carl Winters. Beth is a wildlife, what do you call it? Proponent. Animal lover, whatever. Animal rights advocate, that's what I'm going for. And her company or her organization are sending her to Australia to basically campaign on behalf of the kangaroos who are killed and turned into pet food.
In the movie, she's part of the news.
Is she a news?
Yeah, she's a news anchor.
Okay, I didn't know if she was a news anchor or part of an organization that just filmed its own thing.
I am pretty sure they said she was a news anchor.
She was an anchor for the news?
Mm-hmm.
Because they also say she's a wildlife advocate or something. But it is a different setup in the book. So in the book, and like I said, the book primarily revolves around the Winters and how Beth goes down and gets caught up in this diamond smuggling plot. But in the book, they weren't, like they say later in the movie, this was like they've only been married 1 year. Beth is pregnant, blah, blah, blah. In the book, they had been married several years. Their marriage was actually on the rocks. Beth's obsession with being like she led this advocacy group. Her obsession with this advocacy group was destroying their marriage. And she was going to go off on one last crusade to save the kangaroos in Australia before she planned to come back and try to salvage her marriage or whatever. I don't even think his name was Carl in the book. I think his name was Gene or something. But anyway, but she goes to Australia of her own accord. No one makes her go do it. And in fact, there's another major character in the book who they smartly, along with the diamond smuggling plot, excise from this movie. Beth had a sister named Jenny, and there's a whole lot of the book devoted to once Beth goes missing. Beth and Jenny actually went to Australia together. Beth goes missing, and then Gene goes down. The husband goes down to find her, and him and Jenny pair up, and then they end up hooking up because they were former lovers before he married Beth, and turns out that they're all just kind of terrible people, and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the book is really about a diamond smuggling plot, like I said, that she gets caught up in because these people are killing the kangaroos. And, there's the whole thing with the pet pack processing plant, which is a big part of the book. But in the book, the people running the processing plant are also smuggling diamonds in their pet canned food. And then one of the shipments gets lost, and like I said, Beth gets involved in it, and then blah, 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 blah. So, and there's a lot more characters, obviously, like the police are involved, and the mob is involved, and blah. And then there's a subplot about Jake Cullen hunting a giant boar from time to time. But the movie smartly is going to take that Jake Cullen subplot and make it really the main thrust of this movie, or at least half of this movie. Now, they do keep the husband character, although they rename him, and Beth. And they do keep another major part of the book, which is the Baker brothers, Dicko and Benny. And in the novel, Dicko and Benny, they portrayed very similar. Like, they're very, like, the Australian versions of, like, backwoods redneck, hillbillies. But they were also being paid by one of the guys at Pet Pack who were involved with the mob. They were paid by him to basically get rid of Beth. And so they like raped and killed Beth. And then I think the pig fed on her after she was dead or whatever. And we do have the thing in the novel where the pig shits out her ring, and Jake finds it and gives it to. But then there's this whole thing where then the husband becomes suspicious of Jake because why did he have the ring and all this and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, the movie is going to have Beth come down with her cameraman. She's going to interview Jake just kind of on the fly. And he says, I don't hunt kangaroos, I hunt boars. And then she, of course, angers Dicko and Benny because she goes into the bar and she's like, I'm here to, they know who she is. She's like, I'm here to interview, kangaroo. But she embarrasses, is it Benny or I think it's Dicko because he's throwing darts at the board next to her head, and then she just grabs the darts and throws him in his drink or whatever. And so he's gonna have a hard on for her getting back at her. And so they're gonna run her off the road. Now in this version, in the movie, they don't rape and kill her. Now he is going to rape her, but the pig shows up and scares him off. And then she gets back into her car, and the pig comes up and like rips her door off and drags her out and eats her or whatever. And then we're going to cut. And I think, here's my question to you. Does Carl know that she's dead when he shows up to Australia? Or is it supposed to be a revelation when he gets that ring that she's in fact dead?
Well, they said many times before he got there that she's missing.
Because I got kind of confused because for some reason I thought that he was under the impression that she was dead, and then missing. But because that was a big part of the novel, is like she was missing, and then he has to like slowly come to the realization that she's dead over the course of the novel. But he's gonna come down, and I guess her cameraman just like said, "I'm out." Like as soon as she went missing, flew back to the States.
Well,
But
it's assumed that this is like a week or a little while.
it's a little bit later, I assume. Yeah.
Because then they had the flashback, with the camera guy being like, "I shouldn't have left her alone," out there.
I mean, it's a few days later at least, but Carl's gonna go down there. And,
It doesn't just take. It takes a few days to get to Australia.
Yeah, well, you gotta fly. Yeah. Carl gets down there and he's gonna go and he's gonna he's gonna be directed to Jake Cullen, right? He's gonna go ask the bar hotel owner, whatever, for directions, and he leads him to Jake. And then I will say the best part of this movie is Bill Kerr as Jake Cullen. I really kind of wish that the movie, like they've streamlined that book a lot, like I've already talked about. I kind of wish that they would have rewrote it even more, just cut the winners out of the movie and just have this movie be about Jake Cullen chasing the boar. But in this movie, they really do portray him as like Captain Ahab, right? He is.
Oh, yeah.
And the boar is his white whale. And he's the best part of this movie. Some of his lines, like when he's talking, he's like, "They only have two states of being, dangerous and dead."
Nothing in between.
Nothing in between. And then, some of his lines later, like when he first lays eyes on the boar, and he's like, "Jesus wept." What was that one that we liked so much where he's like, "The pig is mine," or the boar is mine. I do like him in this movie, but yeah, he's gonna basically tell Carl, "I think the pig got your wife."
Yeah,
but he's gonna say, "But as you go talk to the Baker brothers because I think they were there," and so he goes, and I guess they're living in like an abandoned mine shaft or something. And he goes and pretends to be a Canadian or something, and they take him out on a hunt, but then he freaks out when they shoot the first kangaroo. This was a big sequence in the book, too. He freaks out when they kill the first kangaroo, and then he gets out and kills it to put it out of its misery, and then they leave him behind. And then, like a sequence straight out of 2001: A Space Odyssey, he wakes up to boars like circling around him, and then he like goes on the run. He acts like he's never ran before.
Yeah.
And he like bounces off a barbed wire fence a couple of times, which
Trees.
I guess, and I think we're supposed to think that he can't see because it's dark.
Yeah.
Now, this movie won a lot of awards for cinematography, right? Now, I will say that opening scene, I thought it was filmed like really well, like the way they like positioned the quote unquote moon behind the windmill, and you had the shadow of the windmill blades. And I thought it was very artistically shot. Now, the problem with this movie though, is they don't know how to light the night scenes. So like the moon in the opening sequence is clearly just a giant spotlight. And so many of the night scenes in this movie, like you can clearly see where the spotlights are placed.
Yeah.
And so I think this scene is supposed to be darker than what it actually feels like because it's overlit. But anyway, then the sun comes up. He climbs up a windmill, ties himself to it. Then the pigs knock it over the next day, and he's in the pond or whatever. And
the boars.
The boars, the razorbacks. It is funny because, again, they're supposed to be boars. Now, when they have like the big group of pigs, like it's just obviously farm pigs that they've like rounded up, and
you can distinctly tell boys from
yeah,
regular.
But they knock him into the pond, but they can't swim, and then the big boar shows up. You get like the shot of it over on the hill, and it chases off the smaller ones, and then he goes on the run, and like I said, we get a sequence straight out of 2001 where somebody thought they were making straight art. He's running across the desert, and you get all these like artistic shots with like the sun going up, the sun going down, like,
and then the scene where he gets to where the dead animal is.
Yeah, where there's the dead animal, and then he'll like hallucinate like the skeleton of the boar coming out of the ground and chasing him, and
it's like something out of a Dune movie almost.
Yeah, like got really artistic, but he'll find his way to Sarah's house. Now, again, kind of a something they've condensed from the book. In the book, this character of Sarah was there. She was younger. She was a teenager, and her mother was still alive, but was very ill. And Jake was helping her take care of the property or whatever. They went ahead and said the mother is already dead here in this movie, and they've aged her up so they can have a nude scene, and she becomes a love interest for Carl. Even though, again, if we're going back to the theory that he doesn't know his wife's dead yet, he's working on this chick from the word go. Like, do you live alone here? How long have you lived alone here? It must be lonely to live alone here. But anyway, he tells her that he saw a giant pig. So she calls Jake, and Jake is like, shows up immediately.
Well, I think he knows she's dead at this point. Most likely, because when they got there, he told the brothers and them said, and the local people said
she must have fell down a mine shaft.
Fell down a mine shaft.
Yeah, I think he assumes that she's dead at this point, but it's still funny that he was like working on this chick like the moment he met her.
Because he even asked Sarah, and she's like, "Oh yeah, they said she found it on a mine shaft."
Yeah. Now I will say, in this movie's defense, this romantic thing is a lot better than the stuff with his sister-in-law in the book that just went on forever.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Jake's gonna go after the pig, right? And he's gonna take a dart gun on Sarah's insistence.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a scene that they've more or less lifted from the novel, where he goes and the pig's hiding behind this giant trough, and then it flips it over. And they condensed it some because there's a whole big thing in the book about him sending his various hunting dogs after it and they getting killed. But they've only given him one dog, I think, in the movie, the one main dog. But he has some dogs in the back of his truck also that he sticks on the pigs. But anyway. But he shoots at the boar, doesn't do anything, but he finally hits it with a tracking dart, and then Sarah tracks it for him, and then he goes out and gonna kind of camp out and wait for it, even though he should know exactly where it's at, but whatever.
He's saying, like he's gonna go back to that watering hole.
Yeah. But anyway, again, lifted from the book, more or less. The the Baker brothers are gonna overhear on the radio where she's like, he's going after the pig. He thinks he might have know what happened to the Winters woman. And they think that, he's going to like rat on him or something. So they go out and break his legs. And then he wakes up and sends the dog to fetch Sarah. But then he has to crawl to like the well house or whatever. And to hide from the pigs. But of course the big pig comes and breaks it open and kills him. And meanwhile, we cut back a couple of times to like this random guy sitting in his house watching TV.
Yeah.
And one scene, the pig like broke into like his storage house or something where he kept his meat or whatever. And then the second scene, the pig is like wrapped up in a chain or something, and it gets wrapped up around his house. Like,
well, I think it was a trap he set in front of.
Oh, was it a trap? Okay. And it ends up like breaking off and carrying away like half his house.
With the TV. It's a funny thing because she sees the TV slowly go away.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a comedic bit. But anyway. So Sarah and Carl find Jake's dead body, right? Or whatever's left of it. We don't see a shot of it. And Carl notices like the knife, like the machete marks in the ground because he remembered, I guess, that Dicko had a habit of like throwing the machete into the ground or whatever. So he figures that the Baker brothers were behind it. So kind of a weird edit because it all of a sudden cuts and he's got his gun or Sarah's gun or whoever's gun, Jake's gun, and he's at the mine shaft and he's looking for the brothers, and he finds Benny.
Well, he runs into the mine shaft entrance.
Yeah, he rams his truck into it. And Benny comes out, and he chases him across like the field or whatever, and then Benny goes down to a mine shaft to hide and comes out and like tries to break his leg or something, but doesn't work. And anyway, he ends up, interrogating him and figuring out where Dicko is, and then drops him down the mine shaft, presumably to his death.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Sarah like gets all the locals together and they go out for a pig hunt.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess she tagged multiple pigs and she doesn't know which tracker.
Remember she tagged the one earlier, the baby
the
one
beginning.
earlier?
Because she's working for like the university or something. But anyway, she tracked the wrong pig, and so everybody goes back to the bar. And then she
To the pub.
to the pub. Is that what it is in Australia?
Well, that's what they called it.
Oh, is that what they called it?
Yeah.
Okay. Then she tracks it to the pet packing plant, but Carl has already gone there to confront Ditko.
Mm-hmm.
Some very like every time they go to the pet pack plant, I get like some strong Texas Chainsaw vibes.
It doesn't look like a traditional, like I would think of a
like a
meat
butcher.
It
meat
looks more like
processing plant.
just a factory, like a metal factory almost.
It has a lot of steam. I don't know how much steam you'd have in a normal meat processing plant, but yeah,
And it doesn't have very much meat.
There is some meat strung up, yeah, but it feels to me like the interior feels like a boiler room scene from a Friday movie with all the steam, but they want the steam there. One, for effect, and I do think it helps the cinematography, but also so they can hide the pig, the animatronic. Because we'll talk about it. I don't feel like they're that proud of this animatronic, but anyway, he's going to chase Ditko around and finally get him on his knees, but then the pig shows up, and the pig ends up chasing Ditko into the plant and then getting to Ditko and eating Ditko. And then Sarah shows up at the plant because she tracked it there and she couldn't get anybody else to come with her. And then it chases him around the plant. At one point, Sarah, again, this movie got some honors for its editing. I think the editing in this movie is really choppy. I mean, some of the edits are really harsh, and I'm like, wait, what are we doing now? At one point, Sarah gets chased off, and then we'll find her later, like dangling upside down in the chains for some reason, passed out.
Smart pig.
I guess so. But anyway, the pig chases Carl around, and at one point, he gets a pipe and is able to impale it, but it keeps chasing him around some more. And then I called him like the fan blade. I don't know if it's the fan or like the grinder or whatever it is. But he's got the boiler like turned up to max, and the fan blades, I guess we're supposed to see, are spinning really fast. And I don't know how big this blade like opening is, but apparently big enough for this. He lures the pig into it. Again, kind of choppy editing because the pig's walking towards him, and then all of a sudden it's turned around and halfway down in the blades, but whatever. The blades chop it up, and then he goes and finds Sarah.
Well, he was on the other side of the blade.
Okay, sure. But he goes and finds Sarah and gets her down, and then she wakes up and they embrace very romantically. And then credits roll, more or less. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I think, again, having read that novel, I appreciate that what this movie did in streamlining the novel, actually sort of making it about the pig, although there's still a lot with Carl and the Baker brothers that I kind of wish was excised from this movie. I really wish the movie was just Jake Cullen like hunting this pig, like Ahab hunting the whale or something, but whatever. But I do appreciate the streamlining they did versus the book, because obviously no one would have watched a movie about a diamond smuggling plot where a pig showed up every once in a while. Apparently nobody watched this movie anyway, but it was a flop anyway, but it was the right instinct. And obviously that's from Jaws, right? At this point, we're still, we're 9 years, but still less than a decade from Jaws, and studios were looking for any material to adapt into a giant, X animal attacking people. Yeah. And so that's why this got made into a movie. And I do appreciate that. And like I said, the cinematography, I do think that some of it is really beautiful. I do think that the night scenes are overlit and the spotlights are kind of obvious at times. But yeah, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
The trippy sequence through the desert is kind of weird. But I do like the character of Jake Cullen, Bill Kerr, the actor, I think is the best part of this movie. He's doing a really good job. The guy playing Carl, Gregory Harrison, who the trailer says introducing, so apparently he was pretty new. I don't know why they just didn't go with Jeff Bridges. Carl's pretty flat.
Yeah.
Kind of like whatever. I'd have enjoyed Jeff Bridges a lot more.
Yeah.
But yeah. Creature design. Well, here we go. So they designed 6 different heads, apparently. I couldn't tell the difference, but it's kind of hard to nail down how big the pig is because they're obviously, like I said, the opening scene, they cut around it a lot. It's clearly just a giant animatronic on like a track that like runs through the house, and like the house catches on fire for some reason, but whatever. And then we get a lot of in tight shots of the head and mouth area, and the mouth like moving, and then some little bit wider shots of the face as we get towards the end.
Yeah.
I mean, the face looks okay. Like the animatronic face does fine.
Yeah.
I mean, they cut around it a lot, like I say, but you never really get like a full body shot of the boar. Maybe a couple like in the far distance, because obviously, like I said, apparently I don't think they were very confident in the realism of the animatronic, especially like in its full body form. I mean, it would have been hard to pull off without CGI. So, the pig is mostly off screen.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Effects. Again, I mean, you can tell the production values are there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they got a good cinematographer from Mad Max 2, although he overlooked the nighttime scenes, but there's some beautiful shots in this movie. They've got a pretty elaborate set for the final showdown in this plant, right? They've got the catwalk that falls down, and they got the blades, and I mean, it's a pretty elaborate set. They've got the set pieces where like the house, at the beginning where the house gets ran through and catches on fire, and then later where the house gets pulled apart by the pig.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've got some production values here.
Yeah.
Now, but like again, they're obviously not too proud of their animatronic because you don't see it that often.
You barely ever see it.
So I do like the cinematography with like the steam at the end, even though I don't think the plant would have that much steam, but whatever. Like I said, I mean, the production values are there. They just were not too comfortable with their animatronic pig. And then score, I think the score is fine. I think it matches the film. It, kind of has that desert, quality like you would kind of hear in like a Tremors movie or something, I think. And I think the score works fine.
Yeah, the score is fine.
But anyway, you ready for some final thoughts?
Sure.
Go for it.
Like we said, this it's all right. Could be worse. Cinematography is, decent enough to get you through the movie, and everything else is decent. Like the acting and the effects are decent enough to get you through the movie. Score is good.
Yeah.
I think the best part, like you said, is Jake.
Yeah.
Going around hunting the boar.
Yeah.
Crazy old man style.
Yeah.
And, I think I'll give this movie, I'll give it a C+.
Yeah, listen, I think, again, I mean, it's fine for a creature feature. I wish they were more proud of their animatronic and we saw more of the pig. But like I said, I think it helps this movie that I read the book first and was so disappointed in the book. Like I was like, it can only get better. So they do improve upon the book by streamlining it, focusing it more on the actual Razorback itself, getting rid of a lot of the characters, getting rid of really the main thrust of the novel, which was this diamond smuggling subplot, and cutting all that BS out, and all the like the love triangle with the sister-in-law and all this and that, and just getting rid of a lot of that. I do like Bill Kerr, I'm sorry, as Jake Cullen. I think he's really, like I said, I think he's the best part of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
The rest of the actors are fine, pretty flat, if you ask me. If I were a citizen of the Outback, I think I would probably be a little offended by their portrayal of the Baker brothers. But, that is what it is. I mean, it's only like 95 minutes or something, so it doesn't really overstay its welcome or anything. Production values overall are pretty good. Like I said, won some awards for cinematography. I do think the night scenes are a bit of a struggle, but there's a lot of beautiful shots in there too. I do think the editing is choppy. I thought the editing, it felt like they were skipping scenes at times. We would cut and I'm like, wait, where are we? It took me a couple seconds to recalibrate. It felt a little choppy to me, but yeah, it's a middle of the road creature feature. I'll give it like a C. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Not much in the way of news. I did want to touch on, me and Andrew watched this SNL skit they did, I guess a couple weeks ago now by the time this podcast comes out. It was the week, I guess, that Matt Damon was hosting. And they did this like Monsterverse skit, and it opened with like, you know, a joke on the title. It was like Godzilla 2, King of the Monsters, Dawn of the King of the Monsters or something. But it was basically like inside the bridge of a aircraft carrier or something. And the gag is that this comms guy was going to keep feeding Matt Damon, who was playing like the Admiral or something, all this crazy information. And every time he said a crazy line, like Matt Damon would do a spit take and spit all over the comms guy. And they just did it over and over and over again. Yeah. And it was one of the, like, you could tell like it was one of those skits where the cast was having trouble holding it together. Yeah. Like, it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. So I don't watch full episodes of Saturday Night Live anymore, because I think a lot of it's painfully unfunny, but I do watch, you know, the more popular ones on TikTok or YouTube or whatever. I would recommend checking that out on YouTube. That was kind of funny. I don't think I've touched on this yet. Our local theater did a remodel, and they kind of turned their lobby into an arcade. And front and center, as it should be, they put in that arcade game Godzilla Kaiju Wars or whatever. Yeah. And we didn't play it yet, but we were stuck in a long concession line the other day. And I was telling Andrew, it looks like the 4 kaiju they licensed for it are Godzilla, Gigan, Manda, and Megaguirus. I was like, it's kind of a weird lineup of monsters, but maybe it's the Godzilla and then the 3 they could afford. But I thought that was kind of funny. Yeah. One day we need to go in there and just sit down and play it.
Manda is not that expensive, I wouldn't think.
Manda or Megaguirus, I don't think would be on the higher priced licensing fees. But
and then, you know, they were able to afford Gigan and Godzilla.
Yeah. But
you can't have a Godzilla arcade game and not have Godzilla.
Yeah, obviously. But I did think that was kind of funny. But anyway, I think that's about it as far as news goes. No real other news. They did announce that a guest that we're excited for at G-Fest this year. I can't remember his name, but the guy who plays Dan Moroboshi. We're definitely have to go to the autograph room and get his autograph. Maybe have him sign that Conagon Funko Pop I've got or something. Yeah. But anyway, so coming up on the podcast, we got a big summer the next 6 weeks or so. We're going into sharks. And we're starting with really one of the tentpole movies. You know, we've done a few tentpole movies over the course of this podcast. I would say like the original Kong, Jurassic Park, the original, maybe not as commercially successful, but the original Godzilla. But we're going to be doing Jaws. Yeah. Our third Spielberg movie after the first 2 Jurassic Park movies. So, look forward to that. That'll be a big episode next week, and we're going to work hard to bring that to you in the way it deserves. And then we'll be doing Deep Blue Sea and all the crappy Jaws and Deep Blue Sea sequels. So look forward to that before we take a break for G-Fest. But I think that's all we got for them this week, Andrew, don't you?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, don't forget that we have another podcast called Pulse Check, a horror movie podcast where we review horror movies. And over there, we're finishing out some mummy/ancient ruins horror movies, and then next week we're going to be doing next month I should say, we're going to be doing creepypasta, starting with the brand new film Backrooms. Ooh. So look forward to that. But as far as this podcast goes, you can always contact us at stompthisway1954@gmail.com.
And you can find our website at www.stompthisway.wordpress.com.
That's right. And you can also find us on social media on X, Instagram, and Facebook at Stomp This Way. And of course, all this information is located in the show notes below. But again, next week, don't miss out on Jaws. And as always, I'm Aaron.
I'm Andrew.
And we'll see you next time.